Sean Hannity clip that's in there is almost like it's a blank slate. It's a tabula rasa, ladies and gentlemen. This is a video from Sean Hannity entitled, "This is Pathetic." Brilliant. I know what you're thinking. Every day he finds a new way to capture what's left of my internal organs. Not my heart, not my brain, but certainly the chunk of what used to be my appendix. And maybe he's just talking about his job. You know, sometimes Sean Hannity tattles on himself, and we haven't seen him in quite some time. This is the swamp. This is DC, and it's green because of swamps are green, I guess is the idea. But I thought Trump had emptied the swamp. It was going to be very easy, and he was going to do it very quickly, if you'll recall. And he was there for 4 years, so obviously quick in his time scale is obviously broader than that. Let's find out. We may not do this whole video because I don't like this person, but we'll see what the hell he's even talking about. Welcome to Sean Hannity. What in the fresh hell?
Very clear. The federal government is totally out of control, and freedoms that you thought you had are...
Oh, boy. Okay, so this is just generic. What was he trying to be, like the thumb version of Alex Jones?
Non-existent. And with 69 days until Election Day...
How many days? How many days is it?
You thought you had are non-existent. And with 69 days until...
Sorry. You were saying this is pathetic. It's pathetic, Sean. It's pathetic. You're watching House Sparks Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, etc., etc.
Election Day, 21 days until early voting begins in Pennsylvania. Mail-in ballots going out even sooner than that in the next week.
That's so scary.
Or two. And many Americans are asking themselves, who is in charge of this country?
Joe Biden's still president, and Kamala Harris is campaigning and still getting her briefings on the regular. We have a functioning staff working at all times like we do. But, sorry, were we supposed to think this all the time Trump was golfing? Like, anytime he's swinging his golf club, like, who the fuck is in charge? Is that how we're supposed to react?
And how corrupt are big institutions in America, like big tech, like the...
How corrupt are they?
Media, state-run media mob, like our government. Joe Biden is on his second consecutive beach week vacation.
Beak week. Well, you know, he needs time, a lot of vacation time when most presidents take it in August, by the way. He needs that time because he has trouble speaking. He has to, you know, like, and I'll give you an example. There's a phrase, I think it's beach week, that he nails it every time I've seen him, but apparently it's hard to say.
Joe Biden is on his second consecutive beach week vacation. Nothing on his calendar. He's been mentally checked out for quite some time. Well, that would mean Vice.
Also, what does he have to have on his calendar? Honestly, what's he going to do? He's not running again. He's busy being president. What interviews does he have to do? Like, who gives a shit? She's campaigning. He's being president. They've got legislation they're going to introduce. They're working on that. It's August. He's obviously getting all of his briefings all the goddamn time. Trump golfed more than any president in history. Sean said he needed that time because he's such a great thinker, and it helped him relax.
President Harris, is she in charge? Do we know? Because she doesn't seem to know. She's been traveling around the country for weeks on end, pretending to be a challenger, all while vowing to fix the problems that she caused with Joe.
She caused?
On day one.
How did she cause the problems on day one? I mean, if you're going to blame her for the problems, I think you got to give them a time at least to ramp up the problems, yeah?
Day one, Kamala, was January 20th, 2021, not 2025.
Yeah, but she's the vice president. She can advise and consent the president, give out advice and consent to the president, but, she can give advice to him. And he seeks her advice and consent from the cabinet and other people, and Congress. But he ultimately makes the decision. She doesn't get to make that decision. And if you don't believe me, look at the fact that Biden got us out of Afghanistan. Obama did not. Obama wanted to talk to it, and Joe actually advised him, we got to get out. The generals are going to tell you over and over again. They're going to insist that we just need 6, 8, 10 more weeks. And you're going to look up and 10 months have passed. I'm telling you, they're going to, every time they come back, they're going to say this. And when he became president himself, he immediately said, we got a timeline. We're getting the fuck out. If you need, we're going to do 90 days to add on just helping get people out. But beyond that, we're gone.
And now she's not giving many details at all. They don't have time for any more details. They're very stressed out. Now,
by the way, Sean, that's fascinating that you would project those words. Because she never said she was stressed out. Nobody on their team has said they're stressed out. They're just saying they're working a lot. They've got a lot to do. They've got a lot on their plate. But there's a lot of joy going on. They're having a lot of fun, which is probably the thing that's stressing you out. And that's why you inserted that phrase, that they're stressed out. That came from you. That came from you, my little reject from our gang that grew up and was the only surviving member.
There are no policy positions that are listed on her website. She has participated in 0 press conferences, 0 town halls, 0 interviews. But this coming Thursday, we got the big announcement after 7+ weeks. Kamala will finally...
Also, 7+ weeks, by the way, of her going from the vice president running to being the head of the ticket, picking her vice president, and then taking all the policy positions of the Biden administration that she's going to take on herself, what she would do in her own presidency, which is, very similar, a lot of continuity, but need to be rephrased, rearranged so that she communicates them from her priorities as a president instead of her, the president's priorities that she was helping facilitate, make happen. You know what? I don't even know why you're asking me this, Sean. You should talk to? You should talk to Mike Pence. He's got history being a vice president, and he knows what it's like to be there and be responsible for everything the president did and yet not actually have a say.
Sit down for her very first TV interview. Take a look at the conditions, though. This is going to be a pre-recorded interview on fake news CNN. Of course. Why didn't they just do Rachel Maddow, the conspiracy theorist and liar on MSDNC?
How's she a conspiracy theorist? I mean, I'm sure they have some running thing. Does anybody know what the primary conspiracy she's supposed to be? Is Sean butthurt about her Spiro Agnew podcast? Is that what it is?
And she's doing it with far-left Trump hater Dana Bash. Let's see if she can keep her fairness.
Far-left Trump hater Dana Bash. First of all, it's Dana. Secondly, Trump just said she was very fair to him. Right? Trump has been kissing her ass and Jake Tapper's ass since the debate.
Record going for two interviews in a row.
Stop clicking your pen, you unprofessional prick. Listen to this.
Anyway, Vice President Walz will be present. He's there to offer moral support and bail Kamala out if she gets lost in one of her now famous never-ending platitudes about the passage of time. Time is passing, and we're all passing through time. If Kamala can't handle a single live interview by herself with a friendly CNN host, how's she going to handle President Xi, Vladimir Putin?
Well, I mean, you would handle those people differently than you're conveying messaging for a campaign, for example. Once you're in office, how you talk to other world leaders is based on a position of power, as opposed to, communicating your desire. Because I don't know if this will shock you, Sean, but Xi Jinping doesn't get to vote for our leaders. So you can talk to him in a way you don't have to talk to the voters. And you don't have to worry about communicating to him the way you care about communicating to the voters, because you want them to know you care about them, and you may have policies that they disagree with or that are difficult for them to understand, or that you want to convey in the best way, in the cleanest way possible, and that takes time. And she just became the head of the ticket, whereas with Xi Jinping, we have national policy, and the policy of the Biden administration will carry straight through, including the CHIPS Act, all the shit that the Republicans, who slam China all the time, voted against because they're assholes. That would be the issue. That's why, because talking to voters is different than talking to adversarial world leaders. And maybe your candidate wouldn't be slipping in the polls if he understood that. If he didn't talk to to Kim Jong-un nicer than he talks to most of the American people. It's a thought.
Or the mullahs in Iran, or any other adversarial world leader.
Well, I don't think she's looking to get their vote. I don't think she gives a shit what they think about her tax policy or whether they understand the value of it or whether she thinks the mullahs in Iran will know the difference between Trump saying no tax on tips and her saying no tax on tips for hospitality workers. You notice the distinction there? Do you think that's an important distinction, Sean? Do you think that no tax on tips by itself, without that hospitality workers things, which involves, again, people who work in the restaurant industry, clean rooms, drive cars, all that kind of stuff, the people that you normally tip in the normal order of your life, that making that specific to the rule is meaningful versus Trump saying no tax on tips, and if whoever gave fucking Bob Menendez all those gold bars just calls it a tip, we're good.
It's pathetic. And Dana, let me give you all of your research.
Dana.
Right now. It's all on Hannity.com. They're called the Kamala Files, the Walls Files.
Co-sponsored Bernie Sanders Medicare for All Act. Again, she's not going to lose anybody on this one.
This is Kamala and...
Sponsored bill providing illegals with a right to legal representation. Our Constitution provides for that. Just saying. Also, if they don't have legal representation, they can't be processed. And if they're not processed, they can keep coming back into the country and because they haven't been adjudicated. And they can make the argument that once they're kicked out, they can come back in, keep trying. And if they get legal representation, they haven't denied legal representation. When you kick them out, they have to stay out. And they can go to jail in this country or theirs if they come back in. If they don't have legal representation, they can keep trying to come through. There's Title 42 for you, you dumb motherfucker.
Walls in their own words. You don't have to do the research. We did it all for you.
Great. Expressed support for sanctuary cities. What'd she say? San Francisco is a beautiful town?
You can fact check. It's not AI generated. Does she still want to ban fracking and drilling? Is she still bragging about Bidenomics? Does she...
Yes, still bragging about Bidenomics as she should, and no, she doesn't want to ban fracking. It's a transitional fuel source as we move towards nuclear and solar.
Still think inflation is...
Introduced legislation to block the implementation of the Trump travel restrictions. You mean the Muslim ban? Gee, I can't imagine why. It's almost as if she doesn't have a problem with complexity and she would rather have a comprehensive way of handling it as opposed to something that's just straight ahead racist.
Is transitory. Does she still want to decriminalize illegal immigration and offer free housing?
Touted agreement of COP28 to phase out fossil fuels. I think the phase out part is kind of brilliant. I got news for you. Fossil fuels are going to phase themselves out once we run out. You do know that, right? You know that at some point, and a lot sooner than you think, especially with world demand, oil and gas are going to phase themselves out. Coal is going to phase itself out. It is a limited resource, right? Even if you don't believe in climate change, it's going to phase itself out at some point. Why would you not want to just go ahead and move to the part where you're not reliant on shit you have to dig out of the ground? Why would you want to go there if you can and start building on that technology, especially if it's renewable and doesn't pollute the aquifers of your own country? This is one of the problems they have with like net zero. He doesn't understand what phase out means. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, yes, this is a new shirt. It's on my Twitter. On my Twitch channel. Sorry, my Twitch store. It's my Sweet Home Alabama style, classic rock house shirt.
Housing, healthcare, and education.
I sometimes buy demos of these shirts so that I can wear them and wash them to see if they actually last, because I hate merch that breaks apart. And in the past, I've had that, and I feel bad when people wear it and it's all worn out. It makes me sad, right? It's kind of disappointing. But I can't afford to do the big, get a bunch printed in the real, the kind that last forever and stuff that are kind of imprinted instead of iron on there, imprinted into the fabric itself. Yeah. Yes, I did the artwork myself.
To illegals and make American taxpayers pay for it. And what does she say to the family?
By the way, we pay for it anyways. But if somebody comes across 5 times, we have to give them food and shelter while we dump them back out. And then they come back through, and next time they're carrying drugs, and we pay for the cost of all those drugs entering the system, or if they're sex trafficked, or they're attacked themselves, or they're traumatized, or any of that kind of stuff. We pay for that ultimately too, because of the nature of our country. Like, because we are I think Sean would call it a Christian nation, but obviously he doesn't live that way, so he doesn't know what the fuck that means. But the idea is that we have just the international standards about somebody who's on your soil, right? We have to do the bare minimum of that. If we actually give people representation and they try to sneak across multiple times, once they've had representation, you can expel them and say, no, you don't have a right, you don't have an asylum claim, you're not you're not going to get a green card, and when you get kicked out, if you come back, you go to jail, or here or in your country. If they don't have representation, they can keep coming through and keep coming through and keep coming through and keep coming through. And the multitude of times they try, the first time they might pay somebody to take them across, but the second time they don't have any money. So what do? They carry a bag of drugs. That's how it works. We do pay for it, you dumb motherfucker.
These are victims of Harris, Biden, unvetted illegals, those that were murdered and raped, and victims of other horrendous crimes in this country.
Real quick, assault weapons, middle schools and elementary schools. Go. I just want to see your concern level. I mean, it matters. You're worried about people who are assaulted, right? Who are murdered. Let's do, if the person didn't have a 30-round magazine, someone could have disarmed them a lot sooner, therefore less dead kids. How about that? Go with that real quick. And that's here. That's even if you shut the border. Let me explain this to you, Sean. If you close the border, seal the border fucking tight, we still have this problem. And you have no interest in solving it, right? Never mind statistically that they don't do those kind of crimes, especially, but and most like undocumented immigrants or illegal immigrants act on other illegal immigrants. They are the victims themselves as well.
Country, does she still support amnesty for illegal?
Okay, sponsored bill banning DHS from using Fed funds to build, expand immigration detention facilities. Right, because we need money to process them. We need processing facilities. We don't need temp prisons that we just fill up with people, asshole. If you build these things, they will fill them up. But if you don't have anybody to process them, they'll just keep, it creates the cycle. Again, why are we paying for buildings just so people have a way station if they get caught before they're sent back so they can pick up another bag of drugs and come back through, right? I'm trying to use your logic, and oh God.
Illegals, does she still refer to ICE?
Wait, what was the next one? You had something more on the list.
This is the KKK, want to defund them and defund and dismantle the police and reimagine them and implement no bail laws. How about, are you going to ask about her support for the...
By the way, there's not, nobody, even the cash bail thing isn't about no bail. It is about, like, if you have somebody who's impoverished and you have somebody who is well-to-do, and they're both going to be put in jail for the same thing. They both committed the exact same crime. But one person has cash to put up for bail, they're guilty. I'll give you this one. They're guilty. This person is guilty. They have the cash for bail, but they're fucking guilty. Then you have another person who's poor, is not guilty, but randomly looks like the person who did the crime and doesn't have the cash. This person stays in jail. This person walks. Right? This person gets to go off and prepare for their defense and all that kind of stuff. And the innocent person who just doesn't have the money, doesn't have, can't get bail, or doesn't have anything, doesn't have like the resources to put up a bond even, right? That's the issue. And again, it doesn't stop the fucking OJs or the Epsteins, right?
The rioters in the summer of 2020, the summer of love, 507.
The protesters. So some protesters were scooped up with the rioters and were being jailed because they were basically out protesting as the sun went down. They got scooped up with the police. They weren't doing riotous behavior. They were just protesting. They got thrown in with the same thing, and so some people worked to get them out while the rioters stayed in jail. That was the argument. The problem was they didn't make a distinction when they were filing charges against people because they were just kind of grabbing up large groups of people. This is garbage. 74
riots and insurrections at once.
Hey, it was what do you want? It was the Trump administration. It was a hellscape. What are you going to tell me? I forget who was president in May of 2020. Do you remember, Sean? Because I haven't seen anything like this with Biden in office. Shit, even the DNC was lovely.
She glad that she said they're not going to stop and they shouldn't stop, and tweeting out
protesting
out that bail fund. And what about Timmy, her running mate? He still want tampons in boys' bathrooms?
Available in the bathrooms. Let's say, for example, you got two bathrooms in a school, and for some reason, the boys' room's got toilets in. It's got urinals as well. It's got toilets as well. Something happens in the girls' bathroom, and temporarily everybody has to take turns going into the boys' room, and there's not a tampon dispenser in there. So there it is. Why is that difficult? Now, I would argue that that all schools should have tampons available in the nurse's office. I mean, it should be real easy. Because I got news for you. If you put a tampon dispenser in the boys' room of most of the schools I went to, people would just they'd just be taking them out for free and fucking making jokes with them all day long, because boys are boys. But I think they should be available in all schools where kids are, puberty age and higher. They're available in the nurse's office. Right? That shouldn't be difficult. Right? Because yeah. How a tampon killed your father when he was a boy. Was it in a cannon? Did they use it as wadding and he thought it was going to be fine? And then it hit him and he got toxic shock syndrome?
He still want to eliminate all parental rights and offer gender-affirming care for kids without adults' permission. And
yeah, that's not what that is. Kids can't go to the doctor without their parents. At school, if they're dressing as a girl or dressing as a boy or fucking wearing eye makeup or something, they don't snitch to the parents. If you're a parent and you're that unaware of what's going on with your kid, work on it. But the reason they don't do that is because in the occasional time where they're I don't know what the fuck the process is, where they just, what are you doing, Jerry? I'm making the calls today. Hi, is this Mr. Hendrickson? Yeah. Do you know your son wears a dress at school? Hello? He just walked away from the phone. He left it. It's still on. He's just screaming something at his wife. I think he just smacked her. I think that's the sound of a gun cocking. How does that work? What's the fucking protocol? What are they supposed to do? Call and snitch on the kids? And also, what do they do? Call up and go, do you realize that your son is wearing a dress at school? And they're like, yeah, leave him the fuck alone, click. Right? Why is it the teacher's job to snitch on the fashion or behavior or the fucking pronouns or name choice of a fucking kid? Why are they the gender police for parents? Why do Republicans want state employees to inform on children to their families? Explain this to me. How does this work? Because they bring this up all the fucking time. I mean, it should be protocol that parents teach the kids. And I'll give you an example. When I was fourth grade, I guess? Third grade, I did my times tables, specifically my 3s and 4s, dressed as Paul Stanley of Kiss. Because I and some of my friends performed the entirety of Alive 2 at an assembly for all the students, and we were practicing when I had to go back up to class and do my times tables dressed as Paul Stanley. And I was in long underwear and a long underwear shirt that was cut open like this, that had rhinestones all over it, including the entire crotch, which was, and then rain boots that were wrapped in tinfoil because we were poor. And so it was the closest thing that I could do that, right? And so I did my 3s and 4s dressed as Paul Stanley. I also, by the way, when I was in 2nd grade, I was reading a lot of Archie comics, and I made myself a Jughead crown. I took cardboard and I made a little crown and I wrapped it in tinfoil and I put a little circle on it and a little triangle because he always had a circle and a triangle on this. I don't know what the fuck that was. And you couldn't buy shit back then. And so, I wore it for months when I was a kid. I was like 8. And I wore a Jughead crown to school. And one of my teachers got all mad about it, and another one didn't give a shit and thought it was funny, but I just wore it all the time. Now, I also have both my ears pierced. When I was a kid, I only had this one pierced. I have 3 holes in this ear, okay? I got the first earring piercing when I was 4 years old at Friendship, Indiana, at a rendezvous with a guy named Cricket stuck a leather awl through my ear and put a piece of bent silver in it, and that's it. And that's the primary earring I had in my ear, all 3 of them from when I was a kid. And I went to school one day, and the teacher, and this is kind of in line with what this asshole is asking for, called up my dad and said, "Do you realize your son is wearing a earring?" And my dad, "We need you to come down here." And so my dad showed up at school wearing his earring. And that was the end of that. There is no reason why a teacher at school should be calling a fucking parent and chastising them that their child might be identifying as trans or is trans or any of that stuff. It's none of your fucking business. Is the kid reading or writing or doing math or science or social studies at proficiency? If you have a problem teaching kids that don't look like you think they're supposed to look, get out of teaching, asshole. But the idea that, like, Sean Hannity needs teachers to snitch on kids as if their parents don't know. And let me tell you, in the few instances where the parents don't know, that's a lot of, oftentimes, where the kid is in danger. One of the reasons why they also do this, why they don't have teachers calling parents and telling them this shit if kids are experimenting with this kind of stuff, is because those are the kids that end up on the fucking street. Those are the kids that get kicked out of their house. Those are the kids who have to dress like this only when they're outside of the house. Right? How would have been 11 in 79? No, I was 9 in 79. You can always track my age to the year. I was September of 1969. Yeah. So specifically, this is, if you look at kids that commit suicide, end up on the street, end up, with drug addiction, prostitution, psychological issues, it's the kids that can only be themselves outside the house. And if their parents found out, they'd beat the fuck out of them. What Sean believes is that that's what they need. If these boys would stop dressing as girls if their dad just knew about it and would kick the shit out of them. That's fuck you, Sean Hannity. Fuck you. Stop trying to micromanage every goddamn kid that's out there because 0.05% of the populace is trans and you're all freaked out because dudes have earrings now and long fucking hair. You thumb. Illegal driver's licenses and free college for illegals. These are important questions. And so far, she will only commit. By the way, free college for illegals, what they mean is that DACA recipients get the same rights as American citizens because they've been here since they were 3. To a single debate. She tried hard to get out of it, even on left-wing ABC, after Donald Trump had already agreed to all the rules they themselves demanded. They requested them. And recently, Kamala tried to change the rules at the last minute. No, she didn't. Requesting that the mics remain hot throughout the debate. She wanted to Also, why is that weird? Why does this is? I mean, look, I understand Donald Trump has all the best words, but I got to tell you, anybody that was watching my live stream of the last debate when I did the breakdown, 11640, baby, Donald Trump shit himself on TV. And you know how we know it was just him and only him? Because his was the only mic that was live. He was on stage with Joe Biden. If both mics were live, you know, they could have gone, that wasn't me, that was Joe. I was talking, right? Because both mics were live, but they weren't. Right? What he's worried about is that while she's talking, he will shit himself like he was doing with Biden. And instead of Biden just looking at him going, oh my God, this fucker is shitting himself, she's going to go, are you okay? Can I get some sort of a fan blowing the air this way? Because it's over. When that happens, fucking done.
Manufacture another. I'm speaking. Do you know I'm speaking, which kind of went viral. I've got.
Kinda. Asshole, you don't even like the people that interrupted her.
God forbid Donald Trump ever interrupted her during a debate. But today.
Yeah. Yeah, you can, during a back and forth part of the debate where you both speak freely, yeah. But if he's talking over her while she's got her 2 minutes to respond and he's interjecting during that, it's gross. It's a pain in the ass. It's outside of normal debate behavior. The problem that he has is that all she's got to do is go, nope, while he's saying stuff. Hey, the mics are fucking live. If he wants to interrupt, she can interrupt. And I got to tell you, there's not going to be a problem if they're having a debate and he's talking out of his ass like he does, and she goes, "That's ridiculous." And she's admonished by the debate people, or whatever, and go, Madam Vice President, will allow you to answer in a moment, but he's speaking or whatever. It's just stupid. What he's saying is just absurd. That never happened. It's just he's making it up again. He makes things up. You're the one that makes things up. No, I'm not. But that's what he's worried about. Sean Hannity is really worried. He's watching Trump just mentally deflate in front of him. And everything he has said about Joe Biden is true about Trump in spades. And it's freaking him the fuck out because it's not going to get better.
Today on Truth Social, Donald Trump has agreed to the debate with the same rules that they originally agreed to. Jason Miller from the Trump campaign said the Harris campaign wanted to have a seated debate. She wanted cheat sheets. She wanted notes in front of her and hot mics the whole time. The opposite of everything she agreed to. Now, keep in mind,
again, they offered these things up because she wants to debate. I first of all, I don't believe him. They could just say shit, and the Harris campaign is going to go, no, he didn't. He's talking out of his ass, and that's that. That's what's going to be the back and forth here. I don't care. The standards for the debate are whatever they are. She's going to do well. She's going to beat him. Hot mics or isolated mics. Notes, no notes. Standing or sitting. He's fucked.
ABC News is openly hostile to former President Donald Trump and most Republicans.
Well, there's a lot of women that work there, and some of them have daughters even. And it might be shocking to you, but there are men that work there who actually don't have contempt for women.
For example, you might recall, here is ABC News reporter Rachel Scott with the very first question during Donald Trump's appearance at the National Association of Black Journalists. Take a look at this.
Rachel Scott. Look, very seldom do two first names make us all go, oh.
Ask yourself, does this sound like journalism or a talk show host?
I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir.
It sounds like journalism. Specifically that she says, I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room.
A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today.
Yeah, about 90% of the audience.
You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true.
Racist false claims, by the way, not just false claims, not, Like, one of the false claims is John McCain isn't a hero because he was captured. That is materially false and ethically and morally false, but also up for debate apparently within, in between Donald Trump's fucking ears. But it's not based on his skin color, the way these were.
You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So,
right now, Sean Hannity is going, when's the last time I had dinner with, what is she talking about? I didn't have dinner. Oh, she means, right. Wait. He invited Nick and he didn't invite me?
My question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first,
by the way, if you aren't racist and if you are you have the best words and you are full of charisma, you would be able to answer that question with aplomb, with calmly and succinctly and with a certain level of grace. If you're a defensive asshole who knows he's being called out because you think even worse things than you said, you're going to answer like this.
First of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question.
Trump wins the crowd over. Anyway.
No, they weren't approving of his answer. They were shocked at him. It was like watching a comedy sketch. He didn't win them over, asshole.
It gets worse. One of ABC News' top so-called journalists, a former Clinton hack. We'll be talking a lot about him in the days to come. His name is Georgi Stephanopoulos. Take a look.
We better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket.
Next, I know you don't believe that. The course of Trump's presidency will turn on his coming public showdown with James Comey. The big question, did President Trump try to block the FBI's Russia investigation, commit an impeachable offense? Good.
Yes. Yes, he did. That's the problem with showing clips from 2017, Sean.
Good morning. Hope you had a good week. It was another one of those wild ones at the White House. How strange.
Why is that terrible? It was another one of those wild ones at the White House. Why is that? How does that make your clip reel of how dare he? Dude, even pro-Trump people would refer to weeks at the Trump White House wild ones. They'd pat themselves on the back for having another wild one.
How strange is it for you to sit here and compare the president to a mob boss? You write the president.
Hold on. What? Run that by me again?
Is it for you to sit here and... Good week. It was another one of those wild ones at the White House. How strange is it for you to sit here and compare the president to a mob boss?
Okay, again, that's not George Stephanopoulos. This is so fucking weird. That's not George Stephanopoulos agreeing with Comey or saying it himself. He's literally taking a quote from Comey and saying, how strange is it for you to refer to him as that? Like these are really standard things. It's odd watching Sean Hannity get this butthurt about these statements. Is it just me, chat room, or does it seem odd that these would be the statements that you pick out as like, they're totally against me?
Right, the President Trump is unethical, untethered to the truth. Is Donald Trump unfit to be president?
That he's reading his own quotes and asking him that question. What's his opinion? Why is this weird? Why he does realize that when you, maybe he doesn't. Maybe Sean Hannity thinks that, if anybody asks even an uncomfortable question about Trump, they're not on the team and therefore, I don't know what the fuck. We could probably find more quotes of Sean Hannity saying Trump is making a mistake or doing something wrong or screwing up way worse than any of this shit.
It's all too easy to fall into reflexive habits, to treat this as a normal campaign where both sides embrace the rule of law, where both sides are dedicated to a debate based on facts and the peaceful transfer of power. But that is not what's happening this election year.
Right. This is that's after Jan 6, you asshole.
Point out those statements.
Notice they take the date off. Notice this one says July 14th, but notice they take the year off these others to make it think like, oh, we're talking about, he said this for years.
From J.D. Vance and Vivek Ramaswamy, of course, President Trump and his supporters have contributed to this violent rhetoric as well.
Well, he claims to be a journalist. He's not. He is a liberal talk show host and a...
Jesus Christ. Dude, I will at least give Sean Hannity this. He does not claim to be a journalist any more than he cops to being client number 3 of Michael Cohen.
Of one as well. Anyway, ABC is a cheerleader for the Harris campaign, and yet...
How? And again, anybody who calls Trump out on his bullshit or talks honestly about him or what he's said or how he's behaved is suddenly a cheerleader for the other side. So that's the standard.
Kamala Harris is still scared to debate Donald Trump, trying to get her hardest to get out the last couple of days. It is not just her trouble speaking without a teleprompter and constant, nervous, bizarre giggling. Kamala Harris appears. Also, by the way, all right, cackling is not giggling. Giggling is small. It's like, let me put it this way. Giggling is what college girls do when they see your penis. Cackling is what grown women do when they see it, Sean. That help you distinct. One's big, the other one's just kind of covering the mouth and pointing. Does that help you work it out? All right. Appears to be in the midst of an identity crisis since becoming the Democratic nominee.
Or is in the process of going from vice president to being the top of the ticket in 7 fucking weeks. Sean, you have to understand, she's gone from being the vice president, and she is the sitting vice president right now, during a very tumultuous time in American history, to becoming the head of the ticket in very short order, picking her vice president, and going through an entire, the DNC in a matter of a couple of weeks. There have been a lot of drastic jump up changes in her life. She, only a short time ago, she was a senator and then vice president and now on her way to becoming the president. These are giant leaps forward. You, Sean Hannity, for all your success, have stagnated at this point for years. There's a glass ceiling above. There's an abyss below. But there is nothing but this for as far as the eye can see. Sean, your future is this same thing over and over and over until you get Bill O'Reilly old, Fox replaces you, and you have a podcast. Now, you'll be a multi-millionaire when that happens, and you will never want for anything. But in spite of that, you will still be a miserable, worthless piece of shit. And no one will know that better than you. People will avoid you at parties. People will return your phone call for fear that maybe one day your podcast will take off for a short time. But slowly, over time, maybe even not that slowly, the calls will be fewer and farther between, and word will get back that they never really liked you. That felt good, I got to say. That, ladies and gentlemen, we've never really done a deep dive into the collapsing psychology of Sean Hannity, but everything I just said is true. Everything I've just said about Sean Hannity is inevitable. Just like Glenn Beck. And Tucker Carlson is in the early swing of it. That guy is the young version of this fail scheme. Dude, when you were born with a silver spoon up your ass, I guess a plastic spork made of gold because you're from the Swanson frozen dinner fortune. And you go to boarding school and you're raised rich and you just like dance into a gig on CNN and end up being one of the highest paid people for years on Fox News. And then because you're a Russia suck up and you cost the network hundreds of millions of dollars. They kick you to the fucking curb. And now, after all this, he and I are on the same level. We do the same fucking job. He can buy the reach. He can buy a bunch of bot farms. He can have the Rumble guys with their fucking servers in Florida fake boost his show. And he can have Elon Musk have his bot farm, blow up his show temporarily and shit like that. But it's not going to change anything. It's still the same level that every other independent media person is. Yeah, the difference is that my friends are happy to see me. They really are. My life, for all of its challenges, because we all have them, is a fucking joy. And the biggest challenge I have in my life, honest to God, is that I travel so much for work, doing stand-up and music and all that kind of stuff. And I, spend a lot of time here in Vegas, and a lot of my friends are in LA and Chicago and stuff, is that I spend a good portion of my time missing people I love very deeply as friends, and I can't wait to see them again, and they're all over the goddamn place. Meanwhile, Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson, their families can't stand them. They're the people. Thanks, Kate. Yes, you are. And I miss you guys. Like, I get to see you guys in here. Like, Hannity on his radio show, or however they stream his fucking show. Same thing with Tucker Carlson. They don't put the fucking chat up. It'd be a nightmare. Good Lord, we occasionally will get like a racist troll in here, something throwing bombs in, but none of the regulars. I don't have to worry about you guys going off the fucking rails and say, Hitler was right bullshit. Tucker Carlson sure as fuck does. You're never going to see him run his chat room live. Ever. On screen. Are you fucking crazy? You think that's ever going to happen with Sean Hannity or Bill O'Reilly or even Glenn Beck, for fuck's sake? Never. Never. I have a freedom because of the kind of crowd I attract and the things I talk about, that the people who are on my side, I never have to worry about you guys ever being awful. Just think about the chats you have seen when on re-airs or any of these like stolen live streams where they post Sean Hannity's show or something like that. Just go take a gander sometime and go, holy fuck, if this was on screen right now, that Fox News would have to shut down. They'd zipper the place shut and just turn off the lights and run out of the fucking building. Yeah, you are a bunch of sweethearts, you magnificent sons of bitches. You are occasionally naughty. That's fine. Naughty's fine, though. Naughty's done with love. Yeah? But, like, I'm serious. Like, when I'm watching some of this stuff for research, God help me, the fucking chat rooms on the Blaze and on RSPN especially, holy shit. If they put it on screen, they'd be done. Not even just with, like, advertisers, with their own families and friends. Like, wait a minute, that's your audience?